Thank you, Speaker. I rise in the legislature today to speak to Bill 135, the Energy Statutes Amendment Act. What's clear, Speaker, that across the province, families are struggling to make ends meet. Yet, Ontario ratepayers continue to see unaffordable increases to their hydro bills. There's nowhere in North America where energy rates have risen like they have in Ontario over the past few years. While the Liberals would rather blame this rate increase on the weather, it's clear this is a direct result of years of scandal, waste and mismanagement in the energy sector. Companies see rates as a barrier to doing business in the province, and average Ontario families continue to struggle, Speaker, to pay their hydro bills. With respect to electricity, the main issue with this bill is that it removes the autonomy of the independent electricity systems operator. The bill centralizes all transmission and electricity sector planning with the minister's political staff and cabinet, thereby overriding the industry experts at the independent electricity system operator and Ontario Energy Board. When it comes to choosing what is best for the province and the electricity system within it, that decision will be made with a partisan and political lens. Building power lines to the north could easily be vetoed by a desire to bring in hydroelectric generated power from Quebec, Speaker. Clearly, energy is a necessity of life, and the Liberal government should not be able to dangle needed electricity projects that would improve affordability and reliability in front of certain ridings come election time to secure victory. We should do what's best for the province, not what's best for the Liberal government. By making the independent electricity system operator bend to the will of the cabinet, the political goals may differ from what is needed on more than just transmission, Speaker. Essentially, the minister or government can create whatever policy they like, on whichever grounds they like. That is hardly a stable system that acts in the best interest of all Ontarians. The independent electricity system operator does not have the ability to object to any of the directives or targets that are given by the ministry, even if functionally impossible. They are forced to create an implementation plan that the minister can alter or outright reject until he or she is satisfied. Again, Speaker, the independent electricity system operator cannot reasonably object to any project. Further, there is no requirement for the minister to hold consultations with Ontarians or people within the energy sector. The bill only suggests that the minister must only consult with groups that the minister considers appropriate, given the matters being addressed by the long-term energy plan. Even if the government does consult these groups, they are under no obligation to act on their advice. They are only legislatively required to consider the results of such consultation. Since Cabinet and the Minister write and approve the long-term energy plan, none of the documentation or rationalization of any of the plans, Speaker, will be made public. In addition, because the Ontario Energy Board and the independent electricity system operator are no longer allowed to hold hearings or raise opposition to any plans put forward by the government, the technical analysis, Speaker, regarding costs to impact on energy supply will not be brought forward. This means if the government wants to move ahead with an expensive transmission project, they can put the entire cost onto the rate base without any objection from any entity. The government also can do this even if the project is not needed in the first place. For example, the Caledonia power line that does not connect to the grid was built even with the objections and analysis from the Ontario Energy Board. Speaker, imagine what kind of decision will be made if no objections or analysis are ever required. However, the changes to the Ontario Energy Board Act and the Electricity Act are not the only problems with the bill, Speaker. This bill will also allow for the government to quietly enact home energy audits through changes to the Green Energy Act and the proclamation of past sections of that Act. The bill also leaves the door open to applying these mandatory audits to businesses as well. Now, this government has shown time and time again that it can't get anything right, that it's not concerned with what's best for Ontarians, it's only concerned with its own political survival. Speaker, as I said at the outset of my remarks, I'll be opposing this bill. This bill does nothing to combat skyrocketing energy prices. In fact, Speaker, this government doesn't appear to have any plan to do that. Instead, this bill seeks to give broad, new powers to the minister. Speaker, on energy, this government continues to show that it just doesn't get it. When they're not talking about banning natural gas, they're talking about selling Hydro One. This Liberal government's energy policies are not only hurting ratepayers, it is seriously damaging our economy and businesses. My colleagues and I continue to question the government on hydro-related issues, and will continue to do that. In fact, we called for specific action to be reflected in this year's budget, which included a viable plan to deal with rising energy costs. Instead, the Liberal government put forward a budget full of tax increases and limited funding that will do nothing to ease the pressures of life of my constituent Speaker in Whitby Oshawa. Now, Speaker, governing is about priorities. And it's clear this government is more concerned about banning natural gas than putting in place policies that make hydro affordable for Ontarians. So, Speaker, I want to take the opportunity to ensure Ontarians that we will continue to stand up for ratepayers in this province while the clock runs out on a government whose moment has come and gone. Thank you, Speaker.